What's up, Eagles fans, and welcome into the All-22 review driven by AAA. I'm Fran Duffy, joined by NFL Film senior producer Greg Cosell. Eagles with a big win here in Week 3, 20-16 over those visiting Indianapolis Colts. We've got a lot of highlights to get to with quarterback Carson Wentz coming back here from injury. Let's dive into the first play. Well, let's start things off here with the opening drive and the first touchdown for quarterback Carson Wentz. And this was a very interesting drive, Greg, because the Eagles come out in a heavy 13 personnel package, one running back, one receiver, three tight ends. But they did a great job with hurry up, increasing the pace, tempo, and spreading the defense out with empty formations.
And they did a really nice job with that. And you could see during that drive that the Colts, because of the three tight ends, the tempo and the spread with some empty, caused some problems for them in getting lined up before the snap of the ball. And they marched right down the field. And then you get here into the high red zone.
Yep.
And what you see here, you mentioned the three tight ends, and you can point them out, Fran. There's three tight ends here. That's Josh Perkins right there. That is Dallas Goedert right there. And there's Zach Ertz. Now, an important part here, we know that they want to get Dallas Goedert down the seam. That's what the touchdown was. It was right down the seam. But look what the Colts are doing pre-snap. Pre-snap, they're showing what we call a two-deep shell with two split safeties. So right now, if you look at this coverage, if they stay in this coverage, Goddard straight down the seam will not be available, because this safety will be sitting right there.
Sure, yep.
But what they do, this is late rotation. They're actually trying to confuse Carson here with late rotation, that safety dropping down, and Malik Hooker moving into the deep middle as the single high safety in what's cover 3.
Right.
But now if we lose that and now start this play, you'll see exactly how Carson Wentz does such a good job. Right about here, look at him. He looks to the left. Looks right over there, and granted, that's Zach Ertz over there, and Zach Ertz is a huge factor for the Eagles in the high red zone. So Malik Hooker stays over there because of Ertz and Wentz looking over there.
Yeah.
Because Wentz, he knew the play call, he knew what he had. So what happens now is with this safety dropping down, you get Goddard down the seam, and he's clear down the seam now. This is beautifully done. We can let this go. This is a beautifully executed play. Wentz does a terrific job. It looks like a simple pitch and catch, but as we saw, there were so many more elements to it. Really nice job.
Yeah, and you saw it before the snap as well. Indianapolis is trying to get lined up, and that all starts with that, first of all, the tempo, but then also the personnel group.
Yeah, that three tight end personnel grouping, 13 as you said, the first number being the running back number, the second number being the tight end number, 13 personnel. That was a key part of that first touchdown drive.
Yep, so the Eagles go up 7-0. The opening touchdown drive for Carson Wentz goes to the rookie, Dallas Goedert. All right, so let's fast forward now a little bit. Late second quarter, the Eagles are tied now 7-7. They're driving. They're trying to put more points on the board before halftime. So, Greg, let's rewind it now back to Week 1, Thursday Night Football in 2017. Chiefs, Patriots. Kareem Hunt, the rookie running back out of Toledo, goes for a long touchdown against the Patriots. A few weeks later, we see Todd Gurley, long touchdown catch
against the Dallas Cowboys.
Against the Dallas Cowboys in prime time. We see this play start to pop up in and out of NFL games. We see it again here, and it's just an outstanding example of teams being able to kind of being a copycat league.
Particularly when plays work.
Exactly right.
And it's a really cool concept, because what you have here is you're going to have Nelson Aguilar at the top of the screen, and he's going to be in jet motion. He's going to run in front of Wentz, who's in the shotgun in what we call jet motion. And then the two routes by the receivers on the line of scrimmage, you're going to have Josh Perkins from the line of scrimmage tight end position. He's going to run what we call a deep over route, and he's essentially going to clear out the safety right here, which is really important on this play. And then what you're going to have is Kamir Aiken down below. He's going to run vertically because he has to make sure he eats up the corner down below. Now, this will eventually become another single high safety coverage, with this safety back here that you circled being the single high safety. Now, we haven't gotten to Wendell Smallwood, who catches the ball. He from the backfield. And the thing about it, when you have an offset back, he's not an immediate vertical threat because of his alignment, so teams don't see him that way.
Yeah.
But he is now going to run what's essentially a deep seam route. And because of the complementary routes, Perkins, Aiken, it's now going to be open because essentially you're asking an underneath zone defender to have to turn and run with him, and they don't see him as a vertical threat. So let's run this now, and you can see exactly what we mean. There's the jet motion by Nelson Aguilar. Now you see the complementary routes. That's beautiful because what you see is Perkins running the deep over, and look how that turns that safety because he's the single high safety.
Sure.
What do you get down here? Kamir Aiken. And even though this is a zone concept, you see the corner playing with man technique, he's taken out. So now what do you get? You get these underneath defenders who essentially have to run with a back from the backfield. That's not in their mindset. There's no alert that he's a vertical receiver here.
Yep.
So let's clear this.
And also, by the way, the one underneath defender, where are his eyes? He's worried about what's going on here.
Because he saw that's a great point. That jet action really clouds his vision and manipulates his eyes. So now let's run the rest of the play, and you see exactly what happens. Smallwood is clear down the seam, and if he could have kept his feet, we might have had a touchdown. But as you said, they end up with a field goal. But that is just great design. I've seen it numerous times now when I watch tape of all teams in the NFL. It's an absolutely great concept. And if you get single high, it is really difficult to defend.
Yeah, you and I, Ben Fennell, we're watching tape every week. I've been waiting for the Eagles to run this play.
Or for it to work.
Exactly right. So the Eagles run this play for a big gain, puts them up 10-7 right before halftime. All right, let's move forward in the action a little bit. The Eagles now down 13-10, and Carson Wentz is going to target Zach Ertz down the field for a big completion and tie this game with a field goal. But before we get into the play, Greg, I want to first talk about this formation because what the Eagles are now presenting the defense is called a closed formation, a YY set with two tight ends, Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, lined up right next to each other, and you've got two receivers now at the bottom of the screen. So what this does for the defense is it cuts the field in half where you've got a run strength and a pass strength. And as a linebacker at the second level of this defense, you've got to be thinking in your mind, hey, this is where they're going to probably run the ball. This is where they're going to pass the ball.
And that's one reason it's possible that they played cover 2 to this formation, because theoretically it takes away the thought process.
Yep.
But now let's run this and see how it all plays out, because keep your focus on the top of the screen. So right about here, perfect. See, what you see is they are playing cover 2. Now what happens is you see the middle linebacker, the Mike linebacker, he will open up to the passing strength, which is to the field, to the two wide receiver side. He opens up. Now you've got a cover 2 safety on the two tight end side. So what the Eagles do here is they're essentially attacking him with the route. It's a scissors combination. Goddard goes first, and he'll break to the corner. That will control that cover 2 safety. Ertz is kind of slow playing his route because he has to make sure that Goddard does what he needs to do, that safety is controlled, and then he scissors off of Goddard into the wide open middle of the field. So let's clear it, and you can see this play out, and this is just about as beautiful as it gets. Look at that void. It's beautiful design, beautifully executed, and you hit it right on the head. Great use of formation to set that up, and in some ways dictate to the defense.
Yeah, because the linebacker, since he has to open up to the pass strength, Zach Ertz is running a corner route or a post route right behind him, and he can't make a play on that.
No, and in cover 2, that middle linebacker, the middle hole defender, 99.9% of the time will open to the field.
Yep.
And obviously the Eagles knew that.
That's exactly right. So they're preying on that coverage. Great job by Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, the whole offensive staff of knowing exactly what play to call in that kind of situation. They tied the game at 13. So the Colts take the lead again. They're now up 16-13.
We're getting a little nervous, Fran. We're getting a little nervous.
But Carson's got the ball. And when Carson's got the ball, and they're going to go on a 17-play drive. We saw a number of third down conversions. It was a little bit sloppy. We saw some penalties on both sides. But the Eagles grind this drive out, and they get into the low red zone, and they go back to old reliable
sloppy
inside
doesn't
zone.
matter.
Sloppy doesn't matter.
In the box score, you can't tell if it's a line drive or a bloop.
No question.
You know?
So tell us about this seeing eye single here, a touchdown run from Wendell Smallwood.
Well, this is something that the Eagles do a lot. Every team that's in the shotgun a decent amount with their quarterback does. It's inside zone.
Yep.
It's a base run. But there's some critical blocks, obviously, that have to be made for this to work. And on this play, it's the left guard, Stefan Wisniewski, and the left tackle, Jason Peters. You kind of see Wisniewski's behind Wentz, and there's Peters, because you see where Smallwood is on that side. So they need to sort of create, based on the front, they need to push people away from the run, as opposed to push them outside. They have to sort of wash them inside based on the way that defensive front is aligned.
Right.
And see, that's a critical point. Defensive front will tell you how zone blocks are to be made.
Yep.
This time, because of the defensive front, you want to push.
Yep.
So,
well, and actually, this is a great point because it's last year we had Frank Reich on Eagles game plan. And
right.
Frank Reich came in and he talked about it was after the Chargers win in LA. And he said, you know what, on inside zone, games are won with play side blocks, championships are won with backside blocks. So these guys on the backside for the
Great
Eagles
point.
offensive line, Jason Peters, Stefan Wisniewski, they end up winning the game against Frank Reich.
and that's
because of
critical
this
here
play.
because of those two blocks. So
Yep.
let's run this, and you'll see exactly what happens because it's Wisniewski and Peters. Look at them wash right down.
Awesome.
That creates the hole.
Awesome.
I mean, all you need when you're down there is just enough room for the back to clear that initial point of attack, and then a good back, and Smallwood ran really hard in this game. He ran like a big-time back today.
Yep.
And in this game, and all you needed was that to be washed so he could get the initial point of attack cleared.
Yep, so a nice competitive run there
Yeah.
from Wendell Smallwood. Plunges into the end zone, puts the Eagles ahead for good. So the Eagles go up 20-16, but this game is far from over.
No.
Andrew Luck's got the football. They've got all their timeouts. They drive down the field.
We were
They've
getting a
got
little nervous.
A little bit,
A
but
little
they've got
bit.
4 cracks at the end zone
Yeah.
here from inside the 10-yard line. Familiar territory now by this point for
Yes.
this Eagles defense, but they come up with a big stop. Derek Barnett with the huge sack on 4th down, but it starts with some coverage. And what's interesting here is that the Colts come out and they give the Eagles something to think about because it's a 13 personnel set, 1
Yeah.
back, 3 tight ends.
And all 3 tight ends to one side,
Yes.
which is an alert for boot to that side. So you have to be aware of that. It's boot to that side, and it's levels.
Yep.
Whether you want to call it smash or not, it's levels. It's a shorter route, and it's a corner route in the back of the end zone, and you have to be aware. And normally there could be a back as well involved in this.
Yep.
So you have to be aware of that. It's an alert for that kind of thing.
At least that's what you think.
That's what you think. That's what they want you to
Yes,
think.
exactly.
Because that's not what the play was.
Right.
Ultimately, what the play was going to be was a little bit of boot action by Luck and a throwback to Eric Ebron working across the formation. And the Eagles actually did a good job defending Ebron, but that's what this play was. It was actually kind of a cool play for a 4th down play.
No question. So we know that Derek Barnett, who's lined up at right defense,
He's gonna get the
gets
sack.
the play.
Yeah.
Kamu Grugier-Hill ends up playing a big part of this. So let's let this play run,
Yeah.
and we'll get to see exactly how this unfolds.
Yeah, and you can see as we start this play, if you focus on Ebron now working across, right about here, perfect, because what happens, there's Ebron working across. See, they're counting on the fact that all the action is working to the other side of the formation. But Grugier-Hill, you hit it right on the head. He does a great job. In fact, his eyes go right to Ebron. This is really good because this throw, even if Barnett did not get any pressure, this throw was not likely to be there. But Barnett beats LaRaven Clark, and we can run this, and you can see what happens. And this was so big because even though the Colts would get the ball back, because of this play, you're at the 20-yard line, and the Eagles then, when they had to punt after the 3 and out,
Yes.
instead of punting from deep in their own end zone potentially and giving the Colts a short field with which to maybe score a touchdown as time ran out, so to speak, they then had to march down the length of the field, and that really saved the game. So this was a big-time play, not only by Derek Barnett, but great defensive recognition overall.
Yeah, so you get a 2016 victory here for this Eagles football team. Was it the prettiest win? No, but
Doesn't
it does
matter.
not matter. Absolutely. Tell us
Rainy,
why.
lousy day, you just have to get a W, and they did.
Yep, so they had some injuries on offense. Carson Wentz making his debut
Yep.
here this season. They grind out a win against a tough Indianapolis Colts team that with a coaching staff that they're familiar with. This was a great win for this Eagles team. We'll be back throughout the course of the week here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com to talk about not just this win over the Colts, but preview next week's game against the Tennessee Titans.